I'd like to call the April 8th County Board meeting to order. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I'd like to call the April 8th County Board meeting to order. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? Roll call.
Commissioner Coring,
Here.
Commissioner Lubke,
Here.
Commissioner Barrows,
Here.
Commissioner Franzine,
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
All members are present.
Have we got any open forum forms?
I do not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak? Hearing nothing. Review and approve the minutes of the March 25th meeting.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Review and approve the agenda. Are there any changes?
Madam Chair, I do have one change on item 6.1 under Community Services. The public health nuisance for 36752 Birch Drive is completed, so they are working on that. We're removing that one from the agenda. However, we have an emergency abatement that came up on Friday that we are adding on to the agenda today. That one is at 26571 Birch Trail in Garrison. I just had to make sure I had my addresses correct since they both have Birch in them. We want to make sure we have the right one. So we will be removing the one on Birch Drive in Pine River and adding 26571 Birch Trail in Garrison.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda with the change.
Second.
Okay, we have a
Commissioner
motion.
Barrows.
We have a motion by Commissioner Coring, a second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda. Is there any discussion of any of the items?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Coring?
Madam Chair, as you can see on the consent agenda, there is several contracts to be awarded, and they will be awarded to Anderson Brothers. And as I'm sure everybody has seen, there's been an article in the paper. I actually heard from a township supervisor who was concerned. I had some communication with him. I did hear actually yesterday and have a long conversation with another one of my constituents about this, and reassured her that I was very confident that everything is fine. But I would like to hear from our county engineer, because our county engineer works closely and has worked closely with Anderson Brothers for many years. I guess I'd like to have your comments, and then I will have a follow-up comment when Tim Bray is done. Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Commissioner Coring, thank you for the question and opportunity to talk about this. So just like many others, residents and other officials, when something like this comes out in the paper, a word of this comes out in the paper, that there's immediate concern about the impacts. It makes us take a look at our processes and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect the investments that Crow Wing County residents make. And so it's important to note that the investigation that was outlined in the paper did not include any of the Crow Wing County projects. And so none of our records were pulled, none of our employees were interviewed like they may have done with some of the others. So I'm confident that whatever questions have been raised really do not involve us directly. Crow County and other counties and MnDOT and other local agencies are required to conduct testing on materials to make sure that the materials that we're building public infrastructure meet stringent requirements so we get a quality. So the public money is spent on quality projects that last. And some of those include gravel testing for surfacing, base materials, shouldering, concrete, and bituminous, which has a lot of testing requirements, as well as a few other things. Some of the things we test for bituminous are the asphalt content. We want to make sure that there's enough binder in there, or the glue that holds it together, so it's long-lasting. We also look at the distribution of the aggregates or the particles in there, because that makes a difference how long they last too, so we're testing for that. And then once it's in place, we check on the ride quality, the smoothness of the road, probably what most people out there recognize as quality. If the road's rough, there's an indicator that there's probably a workmanship issue, and that could be related to some of the makeup of the bituminous itself. And then we check on the density to make sure it's compacted properly. I think most people can conclude that when the rollers are out there, it needs to be densified to a certain density so it lasts longer. And then in the past, we've also looked at thermal profiling to make sure that the temperature of the bituminous that goes down is warm enough to reach optimum compaction and stuff like that. It's important to note that a lot of these tests require 2 samples to be taken, or 2 tests, one done by the contractor and then one done by the county or MnDOT or another independent agency. So there's always a check and balance, and we compare notes, and if there's discrepancies, it could result in either a deduction or sometimes an incentive. And in really, really bad cases, we can require them to remove and replace it if there's so much wrong with it. It's so far out of tolerance. Thankfully, that doesn't happen very often. So since Friday, and I was kind of surprised by the Article 2. I knew a few years ago that there were some rumors going around the county engineer circles about something was being investigated, but we really didn't know. And the investigation just went on without really us being involved, like I said. And I was kind of surprised on Friday to get a call from the president of Anderson Brothers, Terry McFarland, preempting, saying, hey, this is going to come out in the paper, and we had a good discussion about that. And so I've been reviewing our processes, some of the paperwork, and I'm really confident that the highway department personnel have the training, the expertise, and we have the proper controls in place to ensure that the taxpayers of Crow Wing County get a quality product at a fair price. This includes that the construction materials of all kinds meet the established standards for quality and workmanship. So just a few numbers, since 2017, the net incentive that was paid to Anderson Brothers was $1.3 million. That's 8 years. That includes the last couple of years. It also includes disincentive too, because you can qualify for incentive for reaching optimal compaction, a few other things that ensure quality product. And so we're applying incentives and disincentives every year. And the lack of disincentive is actually a good thing, because we want a quality product. It shows that even though there's some disincentive, it's a small number compared to the millions of dollars that we continue to invest in our roadway system. Important to note that there are no incentives for anything other than bituminous. It's actually stacked kind of against the contract in terms of like gravel and a few other things. You could only get a disincentive. And so they have to meet the specification or they're held accountable. So any incentives are based on bituminous, which includes ride, like I said, the smoothness, the densification to the optimum amount, and then we did some thermal profiling also. And so over the years, I want to go to thermal profiling and just to talk about how we look at these controls. And if they're not working, and they're not providing value, we stop them. Thermal profiling, we stopped a few years ago after putting it into their specifications, which basically took the temperature of the bituminous that came out of the paver. We want it to be uniform, so it can compact uniform and the road last uniformly. But we recognized that that was not providing value, and there was no way to independently verify it. So we got rid of that. It was just really not providing any better quality, so we got rid of that. So we're constantly looking at these things to make sure that they're working for us and providing value. I looked at the engineer's estimate for incentives. We've been doing that since 2001, a little bit closer, and our estimates are at 1.6% of the total contract. And the incentives paid to Anderson Brothers are that same time as 1.7%. And so it's really close to what we had estimated. We estimate that they're going to do quality work and they're going to qualify for the incentives. So I just want to let you know that it is not, I don't feel it's outside of what we had expected. And just finally, I just want to reiterate that I'm just really confident in our team's abilities to make sure that we're continuing to do the proper testing, to accurately document the results and apply disincentives, but also if the contractor qualifies and creates a quality product that qualifies for incentive, we also do that too. And so I'm very confident that in our team to be able to, again, make sure that the taxpayers of Crow Wing County are getting what they pay for at a fair price. Any questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would just say that this, I did have a conversation with Tim over the weekend. I did have a long conversation with Terry McFarland, the CEO of Anderson Brothers on Sunday, and I'm confident, I'm speaking to my constituents now, that I'm confident that all the work that has been done in Commissioner District 1, and I'm thinking that all of Crow Wing County has been quality work, and this is kind of a sad deal, but I will say that I'm going to lend all my confidence and support to Anderson Brothers. And I'll tell you why. Because as I was, over the weekend thinking about this, and you think of like this as some obscure entity, Anderson Brothers. No, it's a lot of people. And as I just sat here, I wrote down some of the people that are my friends, and they're my neighbors, like Marla Britton, Ricky Eisel, Doug Busby, Brad Busby, Brian McCullough, and the list goes on of the people that I know that work at Anderson Brothers and have worked there for many, many, many years, and they are quality people of integrity. And so I'm confident today in approving these contracts for Anderson Brothers. And I just feel that we've got to move on from here, and I'm confident in our quality staff at the county to moving forward, do the inspections to make sure that things are done the right way. And so if there's no other questions, I'm ready to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just have a question on the, thank you, Paul. I just have a question, Tim, on the 8 on the FAD road specs, the changing of the bituminous
Yes.
from the, what it was, from what, 2 inch to 3 inch, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, some of the townships that we serve, or that are served in the area, have pretty much adopted the county's plan or the county's road standards. Are the with this change, are you reaching out to those townships and letting them know that we have changed our standards so they can change theirs if they choose?
We have not done that. I think this is the first step
Right, step,
for official approval from the board, and we can do that. We have an email list, and we'll maybe just blanket everybody saying, hey, that this changed.
Yes.
And allow them to ask questions. They may choose not to go to the degree that we do. Really what Commissioner Lubke's talking about is adding an inch of bituminous or to our pavement structure to make sure that we achieve a 7-ton design. And 7-ton design is just more robust, that can handle the heavy traffic that is sometimes the dump truck or the garbage truck that comes, I guess, the garbage truck, they cause a lot of damage in the spring when the load restrictions are on. Obviously, we can't keep them off of there. So in the first assessment district and anywhere, we want to build roads that last a long time. So we felt very strongly that any of the new roads are built to this standard. The change that we made, we realized that we had not put enough in there, bituminous in there, the top layer, to actually achieve 7 tons. So in the language, we said 7 ton, but if they followed simply the numbers, they wouldn't be achieving that. So we just made that quick change. The intent had always been 7 ton, but we were just kind of misleading them by mistake by requiring 2 inches instead of 3 inches of bituminous.
The reason it came up is Jenkins Township that I'm working with, that's just across the road from where I live, never had adopted the county's road standards to begin with, and all of a sudden this came up, and I just want to make sure that if we're doing that, we have townships that have adopted the county's road standards, just make sure that they're aware of the change that we're making, so if they choose to, they can make their change. So that's all I had.
Madam Chair, one question, please. You mentioned as part of the checks and balances system that we are checking that as well as Anderson Brothers, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I want to make sure is
Yes.
we're,
MnDOT also is an independent tester on some of the tests. There's a lot of tests having to do with bituminous. Some of the tests we cannot do, and to invest in that would not be cost effective, or the expertise that comes with using that equipment. So we rely on MnDOT to help us test on some of those things.
perfect.
Any more questions?
Madam
Yes?
Chair, this is Commissioner Barrows. Tim, here's my question, particularly for the roads that was already improved, where you said the ordinance or your specification to 3 inches, but in practical application, we're putting down 2 inches. So when we do an engineer's bid, and we're putting this out for the companies to bid on this, and they come in at something less than what the engineer estimates, how's that impacting that process? They're bidding 2 inches or are they bidding 3 inches?
3 inches compacted?
Right, I'm just trying to figure out, so we're talking about the SFAD road standards again, right? And
Well,
not
any
the-
township that we oversee.
Right, it'd be the first assessment district only. And so,
Oh, I see. Okay.
So each township can adopt their own. Some have agreed to
Right.
just adopt ours, thinking it's a good standard. Others have their own. And the important thing to remember is that we're not probably building new roads in the FAD. It's up to these developers that do it. If we have a gravel road that comes forward and they agree to be assessed, we will build it to the 7-ton standard and include 3 inches of bituminous. Does that answer your question?
Maybe I'm not fully understanding, Kim. So let's just stick, like you said, with the first assessment district. So we put as township officers in our role, we say we want to improve a road. The engineer comes up with the price, and you're saying he prices it out, his estimate of 3 inches of bituminous. But in the past, only 2 inches have been applied. So the engineer's estimate is higher than what are the specs that go out to the contractors who are going to bid on the project? Maybe that's an easier way to say it. Are they bidding at 2 inches or are they bidding at 3 inches?
Well, prior to today, if this passes, they were likely bidding it at 2. But again, the ordinance, subdivision ordinance that Land Services works with, there's some requirements, and it's along with our policies that an independent engineer must design the road, meaning they have to achieve 7 tons. And that's how it kind of came to our attention. We had a couple of these engineering firms that represent developers saying, hey, you're saying 7 tons, but you're only requiring 2, and that doesn't work. So they wanted us to correct that.
Here's my concern, Tim. As a taxpayer in that first assessment district, we're telling them that they're gonna get a 7-ton load with 3 inches of bituminous. But in practical application, the bid came in, they're bidding it at 2 inches and giving that taxpayer less value of their dollars than what expected by our own specification.
Right.
That be true?
I didn't catch the last part there, but now I maybe understand better. They will not be able to build the road until we approve it. And we won't approve it now until it has the minimum of 3 inches of bituminous and then the other gravel base that requires it to get to 7 ton. So here going forward, there will never be a road built can be bid at 2 because it will not meet the minimum specifications. Does it?
Okay, that's all.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not connecting with you. We can follow up after the meeting today. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes?
if there's no other questions on the consent agenda, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lee. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next thing on the agenda is Community Services, Public Health Nuisance.
Good morning. I'm Gina Heyer. I'm the Public Health Manager over at Community Services, and I am bringing forward a public health nuisance today that was discovered on the 26,000 block of Birch Trail in Garrison. The property was found to be utilizing a failing septic system on April 4th when Public Health and Land Services representatives conducted a site visit. They observed sewage surfacing onto the ground. Contact was made at that time with the property owner as well as with a septic provider. And they contracted to have the tanks pumped and have a compliance inspection conducted. Therefore, the immediate hazard was eliminated by having the tanks pumped. However, the long-term solution cannot be achieved until the ground thaws. Due to imminent threat to public health requested an emergency use of solid waste funds at that time to ensure the immediate abatement. We are also now requesting approval to utilize solid waste funds to repair the underlying issue with the drain field as the weather permits.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Barrows.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Land Services.
Good morning. I have 4 items for your consideration this morning. The first request is for a preliminary and a final plat for parcel number 68140586, located in section 14 of Ideal Township. This is for the plat of Butternut Point of 2025. The request is to approve a conservation design preliminary plat consisting of 7 individual lots and 1 outlot. Therese, can you go to page 115 in the packet, please? So this is the old Butternut Point Resort. You remember that this was actually here before you back in 2023 to be platted, but there's a requirement that once the final plat is approved, they have a 120-day window to record. And unfortunately, they didn't record within that time frame, and so they're then required to go back through the process again. You can see here, this is the old lodge, and then these are the cabins that are in place. There's common open space that they'll all own through a homeowners association management, and then all the cabins that are there basically are going to have their own real estate with this, so that they would be able to be sold as individual lots. Just a little bit of history on this. A conditional use permit was approved for this back on February 8th of 2001 to convert the resort at that point to a residential use. If you look on your desk, I put a little memo on your desk. It looks like this here, if you have it. Just wanted to go through the conditions that the Planning Commission recommended as part of this approval. So the Planning Commission did meet on March 20th and made a recommendation to approve the preliminary plat of Butternut Point of 2025 with the following 3 conditions. One was that they are allowed 8 mooring spaces to be located on the Pig Lake side and utilize 1 centrally located dock that's shown on the survey. Any jet ski slips that they would want to use, they would put in that little bay that you could see on the survey. And then they also put on a condition that said any condition from the February 8th, 2001 conditional use permit must be adhered to. I wanted to point out that if you look, I don't have it here, but there was a condition number 6 of the conditional use permit from 2001 stated that should any structure be destroyed, it can be only replaced in a location meeting all setback requirements. The current cabins on here don't meet the setback requirements, as that's what's allowed when you do a resort conversion. But if you go to Minnesota Statutes 394.36 subpart 4, it does allow structures to be replaced if destroyed by fire or other peril if a permit has been applied for within 180 days when the property was damaged. So it is a staff recommendation that if the preliminary plat is to be approved, that to amend condition number 3 to say, except for condition number 6, conditions from the February 8th, 2001 conditional use permit must be adhered to. And then, just for clarity, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this March 20th of 2025 and made a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the preliminary plat of Butternut Point of 2025. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment developed the finding of fact found on pages 110 to 111 of the board's packet for consideration. Based on the application submitted, the staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact, it is recommended to approve the preliminary plat of Butternut Point 2025. The staff have also reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission with the condition of amending condition number 3 as stated in the memo that I provided today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair. Chris, is there an HOA? Did you say there's an HOA governing this at this time?
Correct. All conservation design developments are required to have a homeowners association for how they're going to manage the property.
And so that would manage how garbage, who pays for what, how the septic, how the water, all that is done as.
Correct.
As the group.
Yep, and they have to have, when they record the plat, they also have to record those homeowners association documents, covenants, and
Right.
declarations.
And there's covenants for that.
Correct.
We do not enforce those covenants.
We have nothing to do
The HOA
with that
needs
at
to
all.
enforce their
They
own
just have to
covenants.
have one that meets the state requirements of what an HOA has to meet, but we don't review those and we don't give any feedback on that. They just have to have the
And
documents.
then whoever buys or sells will be underneath that HOA's.
Correct.
Nobody can buy that and say, I don't want to be part of it, move it out
Right,
of there.
so with the conservation design, what that means is that with the 7 lots that are there, everybody that owns a cabin will have a 1/7 ownership in that common open space that they have as well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Madam Chair, I do this is Commissioner Barrows, and I do have a question
Okay.
regarding, I think there was a concern by some of the landowners around Butternut Point about whether or not these would be utilized as Airbnbs or VRBO. That addressed Chris at all in the conditions?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows, did a review. I did look over the homeowners association documents, and it does mention in there that they are not going to allow short-term rentals. But to be very clear, nothing would stop the homeowners association from amending those declarations and those documents to allow short-term rentals. And if they did that, then they would have to apply and receive a license to be able to rent there. So we don't have any regulations that would not allow them to. They're going to self-impose that on themselves, but it's not something that the county has the ability to impose on them.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Just my personal concern is that when I see this kind of development and there's no garages or anything, it indicates to me that these aren't full-time occupants and that they will probably do what they feel is in the best interest of their pocketbook, which might not be agreeable to adjacent landowners and that, but that's just my personal opinion. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay, we have a motion and a motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Lee. All those in favor?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. The second item now is for the final plat of Butternut Point of 2025. All requirements have been met for the final plat application and would recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any additional questions?
I do not.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion
Lubke.
by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. Just to be clear for the record, the applicant now has 120 days to record, and I hope they get it done this time so we don't have to go through a
Well, that's
plat of
what
this.
happened the last time, wasn't it? They didn't
Correct.
get it recorded in time.
They didn't get it recorded in time, so hopefully the recording will be done in time and we don't have to go through this process again. All right, well, thank you for that. The third item on the, today is for a preliminary plat for parcel number 68210711, which is located in section 21 of Ideal Township. The request is to approve the preliminary plat of Tip Top First Edition consisting of 2 lots. Trees, can you go to page 280 of the packet, please? Thank you very much. So this would be on the clamshell side, you have Rutger Road here. The request was to plat this piece of property. There's a cabin here and a cabin here, and then this is the old lodge that was in place there. So the final plat of Tip Top was approved by the county board on March of 2021. This was the old Tip Top Resort that was off Rutger Road. This did require the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment to approve a variance for lot size and buildable area before recommending approval of the plat. The main reason that the Planning Commission approved it was that there were 2 existing cabins on the site, and the applicant agreed to remove the old lodge within 24 months, which significantly reduced the impervious coverage on the lot. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment held a public hearing on March 20th, 2025, and made a 3-to-1 recommendation to the board to approve the preliminary plat of Tip Top First Edition. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment developed a finding of fact that you'll find in your packet on page 274 to 275. And based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact, it is recommended to approve the preliminary plat of Tip Top First Edition. Staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Just one question. I see the township weighed in on this as a recommends denial after split lot size is too small is what they have.
Correct.
They weighed in on it, but.
That was
they're-
from Ideal Township. Yep,
That is the township, so at least the township weighed in on it.
they did.
But again, no matter what their comp plan says, they do not have an ordinance that covers these areas.
Ideal does not have an ordinance, and so the county is the regulatory jurisdiction over planning and zoning for Ideal Township. Yep.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, with Commissioner Barrows,
Yes.
Chris, I do have a concern why we would approve something that is undersized, first of all, and then the main building, in fact, I don't agree with approving it when it's undersized for buildable lot by a significant amount compared to our ordinance. But then the old building, the main building, the biggest one of the three that are on this particular piece of property, they say they'll be torn down at some time in the future. I know we probably can't ask them for a guarantee when it's going to happen. It might never happen. And so from my perspective, unless there's a more solid plan presented, I have a hard time approving this one. So that'll be my opinion on this one. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I could respond, Commissioner Barrows, to that. So first, the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment did put a very firm condition on that would require the lodge to be removed within 24 months. So he has 2 years to remove the lodge. And so we have that. And then just to talk a little bit about the variance. So the variances allowed for each lot to be 20,000 square feet. That is what the state standard is today, is to be a 20,000 square foot lot would meet the minimum standards set up by the DNR and the shoreline rules. The lots are 100 feet wide, so they meet the lot width issue. They just don't meet the lot depth issue because of how shallow it is there to Rutger Road. So they do meet the minimum standards for that. We have a standard in our ordinance which requires a 12,000 square foot buildable area for new lots that are created within the shoreline district for a general development lake. Obviously, these two lots did not have that because of the 3,204 square feet on lot 1 and the 3,897 on lot 2, but the board felt that the buildable area didn't apply as much in this situation because there are two existing cabins that will be on either of the two lots, and they would, regardless as if the variance is approved or not to create the two lots, they would be able to rebuild the two cabins in their current footprint without needing a variance, and they could also rebuild that lodge because it is now a residential use and no longer a commercial use. And so the Planning Commission, and they also put a limit on that said that the existing cabins that are there, if they are to ever be rebuilt, they can never be increased in size without coming back for a variance and applying to the Planning Commission. So there's no increase in size to those two cabins that are there. And they felt that the trade-off of getting the 5,000 square foot lodge removed in 2 years significantly reduced the impervious coverage on the lot, and they felt was an overall improvement to that and for the water quality of the Whitefish chain.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows again. I appreciate that, Chris. I guess I missed that or didn't realize that there was a 24-month window for them to remove that building. What happens if they don't remove it, Chris?
Madam Chair, that's why I see Stephanie sitting up front, and we will take it to the county attorney's office, and they will do what they do to gain compliance with the ordinance.
Commissioner Barrows, do you have any questions? It would come to my office, and then we would go through a civil process where we can go to the district court and require them to remove it. And if they don't do that in a timely manner, then we can ask the court for an order to go in and have it removed at the resident's expense, similar to the public health nuisances that we do. But this has to go through a court action.
And Madam Chair, if I could also just maybe, when we had the meeting, we, as a county, we don't have the ability to just go in and say you have to remove a structure because that could be considered a taking. And so when we had the conversation with the applicant, Mr. Swenson, he volunteered to remove the structure. So that was kind of the part of the deal that we worked out, that he volunteered to remove that structure and then in response to that, then he would get the variance to create the two lots, knowing that the two cabins that are there currently, if they were to be rebuilt, could never be enlarged by, larger than what they are currently.
So Chris, one more question. Is there two septic systems on this?
We're having a compliance inspection, because of the grounds being frozen right now, we're going to have a compliance inspection on that property by July 1st. But my understanding is that it's a shared septic system on the property for those two cabins. And that's very common.
We'll ensure that whatever exists will be large enough to handle the traffic in the two houses, correct?
Correct. Yep. We'll have the inspection done and get all the verifications on that taken care of. That'll be done by June 1st.
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion? Is there a motion? Will anyone make a motion? Well, I've said it 3 times, it dies for lack of a motion. So where do we go now?
Madam Chair, if there's no action taken on it, it's essentially denied.
Okay,
However, I believe that there needs to be some form of action that would be taken as, and I will have to confirm this, but the PCBOA is required to provide a recommendation to you for final action. So,
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Barrows. I'll make the motion to deny.
okay, we have a motion to deny. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. So,
Madam Chair, we can refer back to the PCBOA that there was no action taken and as such effectively denies the petition at this point.
we'd have to have a motion to do that too, wouldn't we?
No, with no action taken, there's nothing that refers it back. There's no further action that can be taken. I'd have to defer to Stephanie as to whether or not the PCBOA would have to take any further action on their end.
I don't believe that PCBOA is required to do any additional action. It essentially is denied and dies here unless the applicant comes forward with some change, and then they would go through the process all over again.
Okay, well, for lack of a second, motion is denied. I guess let's go on to 7.4.
The last item we have on the agenda is the land use map amendment for parcel number 900305516 that is located in the northwest quarter, the northeast quarter of Section 3 of St. Matthias Township. The request is to amend the land use map from agricultural forestry to rural residential 5 involving 33.9 acres. Therese, could you go to page 314, please? So the property is located, this is St. Matthias Road here, and this would be Corner Trail here. This is where the property is, so they're 140 in off the St. Matthias Road. Could you go to the next page, please? So the current, the zoning here that you see in blue, this is a rural residential 5. The area that's in green is is the agricultural zoning, and this is the parcel in question. There's no zoning up here because this is in Crow Wing Township and they do their own zoning. And so the request is for this parcel here to go to rural residential 5, like the adjacent parcel next to it. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment held a public hearing on March 20th of 2025 and made a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the land use map amendment. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment developed the finding of facts that are found on page 311 to 312 for the board's consideration within the packet, and based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact is recommended to approve the land use map amendment for parcel number 900305516 located in the northwest quarter, the northeast quarter of Section 3 of St. Matthias Township, and the request is to amend the land use map from agricultural forestry to rural residential 5 involving 33.9 acres. Staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair.
Yes?
Madam Chair, last night, I got a call from the St. Matthias Township Board that they were having their meeting last night, first Monday of the month, and they put me on speakerphone, and all the supervisors unanimously said that they do not support this. I'm a little bit you know, I don't mean to scold them, and I'm not trying to scold them, but I think these townships, when they have an objection, they need to start early on with the dirt meeting and the planning and zoning commission. But I did promise them last night I would advocate on their behalf. They do not support R5. They would support R10, which is in their comprehensive plan. And as Commissioner Lubke just asked, being that at this township or any other township, being that they're not doing their own planning and zoning, they have to go by what the county is doing. And I have always, when a township official says something to me, I say, do your own planning and zoning then, if you don't like what the county's doing. But I did promise last night that I would advocate on behalf of the township, because they feel that they want to keep St. Matthias Township a more rural and not have it approve this R5. They would prefer R10. So I would move to deny the land use map amendment.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I got a question for both of you, though, before we go any farther.
Okay, we have a second.
Okay.
Questions?
Commissioner Coring or Mr. Pence, did the township bring anything up at the DRT meeting or the planning and zoning meetings? Or have they had any input prior to?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Lee, St. Matthias Township did not attend the DRT meeting. They did not submit any written comments prior to the planning and zoning, or prior to planning commission meeting in March, and they did not attend the meeting to provide any oral testimony as well.
Okay. Have they given a reason why they're not in favor of it?
I have not received anything in writing from the township, nor have I received any phone calls or had any conversations with the township. Sounds like Commissioner Coring might have more information on that than I do.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lee, the conversation that I had with the town board last night, they really want to keep St. Matthias more of a rural look, I guess. And like I said, they would support, if it was R10, like splitting that into 10-acre parcels to keep it more rural, I guess, rather than getting it to down to 5 acres. They did mention that they thought this would set a precedent, and they were concerned about it. And so that's kind of their reasoning. They wanted to just keep St. Matthias Township to be more of a rural, rather than having it, you know, turn into 5-acre lots. You know, I refer you to Long Lake Township, the property just on Butternut Road east of TC Farm, where the new property owner was asking for 1-acre lots. The township was okay with 5. The planning commission met in the middle with 2.5, if I remember correctly. But, you know, when I go back, I think of Warren Morgan, my good friend, when he came before us. He lives out on 18 on the 5 Mile Road, and he wanted to do a land use map amendment, and he wanted to give some of his land to his grandchildren. Somehow I think we got to be mindful of that things are changing, you know. But like I said, I'm advocating today on behalf of the township officials that called me last night, and that's why I'm offering up the motion to deny.
Well, I seconded it because I wanted to be able to ask some questions about it. I think that, right next to it is zoned 5 acres. I think the homeowners have a right to do what they want with their property. And quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed that the township has waited until the night before to say something about it, so.
We have someone in the audience. Would you come forward and state your name and address?
Hello, chairs. Hi, I'm Mark Balinowski, St. Matthias, 6179 Corner Trail, Fort Ripley, Minnesota. I'm also a township representative. The situation that was brought up yesterday, we can only discuss stuff with us three when it comes to. We obviously didn't see that because it's the first Monday of the month, and it was a late Monday this month to discuss the situation. So when we went through and looked at the situation, obviously, as it was discussed, we have for years, as we've worked with them before, always tried to make sure that 10, 20 acres and how things have changed through the years have went down. We've never liked a 5-acre situation in that situation. And also, if you can pull up on the screen about how that lot is stabled, the majority of that is swamp. And the section that would be being driven into would not even be close to a county road. It would be on the township road. And actually, I am the neighbor of that situation. You look right down the line, the road would be on top of a hill, and as it shoots through. And to our situation, we did not understand how 5 acres would be necessary for when the majority, big time, is all in the swamp situation, and how that would even run in. At least 10 acres, it would be more of a availability of that situation, and also how lots would go, because if this passes, then I would have a right then too to start going 5 acres, 5, 5, 5, and then it would move down the line of chain, and that's where there was concern of the community about that situation of changing quickly in the future, all the way down that road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris?
Any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could just respond to the idea of precedent. There is no precedent in land use, so if Mark wanted to consider, his to be 5 acres, he could make an application, go to the planning commission, we could have the public hearing, it would come to the board. So just because the decision is made on a piece of property does not automatically mean or assume that would actually be the same decision on the adjacent property next door in that area. So that's from case law that's been out there for many, many years. Each application and piece of property stands on its own merit and the facts of each individual situation. So I can understand the concern or thought of that, but from a legal standpoint, the idea of precedent setting doesn't apply in land use.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
The only question I'd have, Madam Chair, is if there is a vote to deny, we just need to come up with findings to deny the application. So would you like me to give you a couple ideas I had if you wanted to that? Or does the board have ideas that they'd like to?
Should we wait until after the vote?
You could. We could do findings after you vote if you'd like, but.
However, Madam Chair, the motion to deny should include the basis for denial. Because you have findings for why you're approving it, you should also have findings for why you would deny.
Madam Chair, I would like to hear the findings that Chris came up with.
Okay, Madam Chair, I think nothing would change as far as, I don't know, Teresa, if you want to maybe go to the findings. Let's see, I had the page number in my report for you. Of course, no, I can't find it. Here we go. Findings are located on page 314. No, excuse me. .312, 311 and 312 are where the findings are. So I think condition 1 and 2 would stay the same, and then I think number 3, I'd recommend stating that the existing rural residential 5 land use in the area is located off the St. Matthias Road. Changing the land use on this parcel from ag forested to rural residential 5 is not appropriate for Corner Trail, which is St. Matthias Township Road. And then the second point would be that St. Matthias Township does not support changing the land use district from ag forested to RR5 because the property is located on Corner Trail, which is a township road. And I think honestly, those two conditions are what you could probably, findings would answer the rest of the questions up there. So basically what we're saying is that because it's not located on St. Matthias Road and it's located on a township road, that the R5 lots are too small for a township road compared to a county road like St. Matthias Road. Those would be my recommendations.
Just a question. Does the township receive the DRT stuff ahead of time?
Yes,
They do, so they
absolutely.
would have time, I mean, how much ahead of time is there? What's the timeline?
So the development routines meet the second and fourth Monday of every month, and we send out the information a week ahead of time.
The townships usually meet once a month.
Yeah, and so we've set it up so that every township meets before the planning commission meeting. The only one that doesn't is Long Lake Township meets the day of our meeting, unfortunately, but all other townships do meet before the meeting. And so I can go back and see, we had a development review team meeting for the Marshall property on January 27th of 2025. And then the notice, we mailed notice out on March 5th, and we had the meeting on March 20th. So back in January is when we started the conversation with Mr. Marshall.
So would the
about
township have received information in time for the meeting
We send-
before the one they had just yesterday?
Yes, we send all notices to the township clerk via email.
One last question. Does the property owner, has he given any indication of why he's wanting these to go down to 5?
He'd like to break off 5 acres to give to his daughter.
Okay.
And with the current ag zoning, it's 35 acre minimum, so you have to go to residential zoning to be able to make a smaller lot.
So in this case, it's for his family.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to deny by Commissioner Coring, seconded by Commissioner Lee. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lubke,
Nay.
Commissioner Lee,
Nay.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Nay. Okay. Motion is denied. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Because they voted on it,
I will second that motion.
so they know what they're voting on.
No, it would not be.
The motion was to deny,
And
and
it
they voted no, no, and no, so it would approve.
No, the motion to deny failed. Now they need a motion to approve, if they're going to consider it to be approved.
Okay?
So the
And
motion
we
to
have a
deny
motion.
failed.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Lubke to approve.
This is Commissioner Barrows. Now I'm confused because Commissioner Coring, if I understood you right, your motion was to deny. Was that correct?
That is correct.
So we had 3 votes against denying it.
Correct.
Denying.
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Just
just
I
for
wanna
clarification. Yes, just for clarification, the action that was before you was a motion to deny the application. So the vote was on to deny. There were 3 votes against denying, but that it does not mean it's approved. It was just 3 votes against denying the motion. So that motion failed, and now you have another motion on the floor.
Yes, we now have a motion
Okay.
to approve. Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Lubke.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Nay.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Administrative Services, establishment of 2025 Crow Wing County Board of Canvassing for primary and general elections.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here to request establishment of the 2025 Crow Wing County Board of Canvass for primary and general elections that may take place in 2025. As you know, actually today we have 2 elections happening simultaneously, with the Pequot School District election being held today, and then also Pine River, that does affect a few of our north residents, is also taking place. And then we are also in the process of getting set up for the Minnesota Senate District 6 seat that is open, and that election, primary election, will take place next Tuesday, April 15th. We will do public test for the primary this coming Thursday and Friday right across the hall here at 9, 11, and 1. And then we will also turn around in a short time and get ready for the general election, where we will conduct public testing Thursday and Friday before the April 29th general election that's taking place. So the election team has been very busy this month with the elections, but we are going to be ready because the absentee voting for the primary begins tomorrow. So we'll close the school district polls tonight, post those results, and when we come here tomorrow morning, we will be ready to go for absentee primary voting for the Senate seat. So I am asking that amongst the commissioners, you nominate 2 people to serve on the board of Canvas for 2025, and those members will be on the Canvas board with myself, the mayor of Brainerd, and the district court administrator or our designees. So.
Do I have any volunteers?
I will, since nobody else is stepping up.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
question to Jory, when would that take place?
Great question. So Wednesday,
Thank you.
the 16th at 11 o'clock, the Board of Canvas will meet for the primary. And then Wednesday, April 30th at 11 o'clock, the Canvas Board for the general election will meet.
Okay. Are you still volunteering?
Yep.
Okay, I have 1 volunteer. Is there anyone else?
I will not be in the area on the 30th, so I can't do the 30th, so I will not be able to volunteer this time.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows, I will accept that responsibility for both of those.
Okay. Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Barrows have volunteered.
Thank you very much. And this will be for the whole year, just in case any other special elections pop up, so.
No, you didn't mention
Need a
that.
motion
We
for
do
that?
need a motion for that. We need a motion appointing Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Barrows to.
I will
the
make
Canvas
that
Board.
motion to appoint Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Barrows to the canvassing and primary, for primary and general election.
Second, Coring.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Jory, before you leave, you send a calendar invite so it gets on my calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have another item for you today, and that is consideration of the 2025 to 2029 Highway Improvement Plan. And Teresa will pull up the summary presentation. This is again a follow-up to our March 4th Transportation Advisory Committee meeting where I met with all of you and your constituent representatives to go through the plan, the 25 to 29 plan, which included previous years, but also some new projects that we were recommending for 2029. So over the past month or so, we have been incorporating comments, updating some of the cost estimates and actual bid pricing in the document. And now it's ready for your final consideration. And I have a quick summary I have a summary to go through. I figured that would get a laugh. I'm going to try my best.
Do you want the summary up then?
Madam Chair, I'd like to
Yes,
know
this
when
is
the
the
word
correct-
"quick" came into his presentation.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Didn't catch that.
Madam Chair, I would like to know when the word "quick"
Oh.
came into Kim Bray's presentation.
I don't know, I've never heard of that word. Yes, this is the correct one. This is the board summary. So in the packet also for your consumption and also the public's consumption is the full 52-page, not quick, not brief, 5-year plan. There's a lot of good information in there for you as well as the public to give an idea of what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years. And I would start off this summary with just talking about the total investments that are included in this 5-year plan. And it's significant, just like all of the previous years. So about $87 million worth of total investment. That includes the amounts for the federal transportation bill or competitive grants, county state aid, which is derived from the taxes you and I pay at the pump, and fees, license tabs fees, and a few other things. And then also the road and bridge levy. Out of that $86.8 million, we're only planning to spend $2.1 million of Crow Wing County property tax levy. I think that's just a testament to how we're leveraging these outside sources, local option sales tax, competitive grants from the federal government, state aid funding, and others. And so it's really low. And we're able to do, you'll get to see in a second, all the things we're getting to do with just that property tax levy. And then we're planning to spend $4 million in the First Assessment District, taking care of their roads. And that local option sales tax investment is over half of that. Or it's like really close to half, sorry. Really close to half of the total investment. And then we get some state bridge bonding. And then as is customary, we work with a lot of our local partners, and so far we've identified $1.6 million. Sometimes our local partners aren't doing as robust planning as we are, and they just don't know what's going to happen 4 years from now. We expect that to continue to grow over time. And there's the mileage there, over 155 miles of surface improvements, and they're distributed as you see there. And I want to draw your attention to the last one, is 88 miles funded by local options sales tax. And I point out every year that if we did not have that, that would be 88 miles we would not likely be able to afford or do. And so that's really impactful. It includes 3 roundabouts. Actually, I found a correction, that's 4, because we're going to claim what MnDOT is going to do starting in 2026 at the junction of 210 and Mill Avenue. They're going to install 2 roundabouts, 2 on their system and the 1 at the junction of 3 there. So I call it 4. 3 of them we're doing in-house on our system exclusively. And then 5 bridge replacements, which includes a partnership with Maple Grove Township to replace the bridge in Leisure Lane. And then 1 bridge rehab where it's time to replace the concrete on the deck. That's in Cross Lake. So a lot of money being spent. You can see where it's being divided. And here's just a graphic of all the roads we're going to touch in the next 5 years. And it's very equally distributed. And it's a lot of work. And this has been this is the way it's been for years and years. And we love it. Next, please. Here's just a breakdown of the mileage. You can see over the next few years, we're really going to put some pavement in on the system, you know, averaging over probably 33 miles per year in those first 3 years. And then in 2020, maybe a slowdown, but again, we might see more add in as time goes on. And then 2029. Next slide, please. There's the ride quality index. And if I was able to do my funny thing, or I could flip between the two, maybe Therese. Oh, Therese. I trained well, and now you're leaving. What I want you to draw from that is that we're investing where the roads are orange or kind of getting yellow, and those indicate that the ride quality or the roughness is going up and the roadway is deteriorating. We're making those investments in those areas. The worst one now, after we've completed 115 last year, which used to be the worst, now is 144. You just awarded that bid today. And that one, we're going to raise the grade, get it out of the swamp, and hopefully make that last for a long time. Next slide, please. And just a reminder, this is what we did over the previous 5 years. So if you combine those 2 maps, we're touching every corner of the county. Next slide, please. And we always include a summary of changes. Of course, our goal is always to complete 100% of the projects we promised to the public. Last year, we had one rural overhead lighting project that had to be delayed because of a late bid and then not being able to get the materials to do it. We're going to plan that today, or this year, and that's in that first line there. One thing to note for this year is that we moved from 2026 into 2025, the east portion of CASA 2. We talked about it at the TAC meeting. It made sense. Commissioner Coring brought it forward on behalf of his constituents that wanted to, rather than stretch it over 2 years, have the pain for 1 year and have a very large paving project. We were able to accommodate that, and that is also noted in these changes. Next slide. There's a few others. Most of them are kind of moving up. Very few are moving back, and if they do, it's because of another funding source. I'll draw your attention to 2028, where we promised a few years ago that it would be State Highway 6 and CASA 30 that would be done. At that time, we were working with MnDOT to study those intersections, look at the traffic, look at the best alternative to address those two at the same time. And during that process, they identified County Road 11, just to the north of the bridge. These are the two that are on either the north and south of the Mississippi River Bridge near the Bridge Tavern on Trunk Highway 6. And through that process, they identified, because there was a fatality and a few other factors, that really the priority should be the northerly one. So although we're not being able to do the 31, we have picked one of the two, and we're hoping possibly through grants and more partnerships with MnDOT that we will follow on in a few years after this and actually get an intersection improvement at County Road 30 also done. Any questions about the changes? Okay, next slide. And now I'm just breaking it up per year and just quickly go through it. A reminder, it's 32 miles. We have the roads listed there. You can see where the combination of CASA 2, it used to break here. This was going to be 2025, and this is going to be 2026. And we combined them this year. Next slide. It's just individualizing them. 39 miles of paving, 2 bridges that year, 1 bridge rehab, and then a roundabout at 3 and 210, as I mentioned. Next slide. 2027, it's 35 miles of paving and no bridge or roundabouts, so might have a year where we can catch up on some planning and work ahead a little bit. 2028 is that 15 miles of paving, 2 bridge reconstructions, 2 roundabouts, 1 in Cross Lake, and then 1, that's where that County Road or CASA 11 and Trunk Highway 6 falls, and that's in 2028. I just want to mention that one, there was some federal funding that we, both in 2028, we received HSIP, Highway Safety Improvement Funds. It's federal funds. There's been a little uncertainty surrounding that. I know Commissioner Lee was concerned about that. I'm concerned about that. We want to deliver on these promises and get that good improvement for the public. We applied for half of, or a portion of it, and MnDOT also, under the same program, applied for it. We received our HSIF funds. They use a different avenue of federal funds to fund their portion, and that they've had some changes that they had to make to that. So they had to initially say, I don't think we can fund it, which puts the whole thing in jeopardy. I've had many conversations now with MnDOT and asking them to kind of keep on track, and I believe we found a way to build it in state fiscal year 28, which meets up with this promise. It would just have to start after July 1st, their fiscal year. So we're working towards that. I'm confident that we will get there. I was reassured that our strong partnership with them, our willingness and our ability to design it in-house and to be able to take care of it ourselves was one of the reasons why they felt the commitment to meet their commitment with us and our abilities. to do that, they had to have the hard choice on a couple others around the state. So I'm very thankful about that strong partnership that is going to keep it going and deliver it in 2028. Next slide. And then 2029, 21 miles of paving, one bridge reconstruction, another bridge rehab, and then another roundabout. This is the one that we discussed at the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, where the proposal is to remove the signal at Wise Road and 3. It's currently aging out. It's around 30 years old, and we continue to spend a lot of money fixing it each year. And the price of signal systems nowadays is not too far behind a roundabout, and you can get much more longevity and benefits from a roundabout. So our recommendation, and we talked about at the TAC meeting, was to install a roundabout there at 3 and 45 to replace that or 49 to replace that signal. Next slide. Every year I talk about the deferment elimination process. For those that are new or maybe watching, is that the black line you see here is what we thought with the new money that was coming in with the local option sales tax back in 2015 and 2016 would do to eliminate our deferments. A deferment is basically you need to fix the road, but you don't have the money, so you kick the can down the road. I'm calling it a deferment. When we started off, it was about 159 miles per year we were doing. We could never get on top of that. We had 150 miles of pavement that were beyond our thresholds for roughness, and we had not enough money in the system. And so the solution was money. And so that money, and this is system-wide county state aid and then county road deferments broken out separately, that what that money could do to get on top of those deferments. And I report every year that this is what we thought the money could do, the black dashed line, and this is what it's producing up to this point, and this is what it's projected to do. In the county state aid system, these are the 1 and 2 digit roads. We are getting closer to our goal of 0 in 2030. That was always the goal, to be on top of it. By then, it looks like in the CASAS system we might be lagging behind, despite having, in the next 3 years, 90 miles of paving. So what happens is that we fix it, but there's other parts of the system that continue to deteriorate and get past those thresholds. So it's a little bit of this, but it is trending down. You can see in the county system, we feel that we are on track to meet 0 by 2030, which was our main goal. So I want to report on that. Is there any questions that we talked about a little bit at the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting? I wanted to just bring it up again and then also inform the public. We are tracking that and tracking our progress and what the sales tax is doing and other funding sources. Next slide. We also do the planning and construction for the FAD. Here's the list. It's all on here. Next slide is kind of just a summary. We try to average 3 miles per year. When we did some recent cost analysis, that we wanted to make sure that the 60 miles of road, there was a turn every 20 years. So you have to do 3 miles a year, so you have a 20-year cycle. So eventually in 20 years, we'll get to all these roads. The average that you see up there is just about, it's just over 3 miles, so we're on track with that, some higher, some lower. Next slide. You don't need to do the fancy thing on this one, but we're making the investments. If she was to toggle that, you'd see that we're making the investments on the roads that, that are getting red, orange. And so we do track the pavement in that area too. It's a little more difficult because of the dead ends and kind of a lot of times narrow and urban type settings. Next slide. Oh, and this is what we've done previously, just similar slide. Done a lot of work out there too in the first assessment district. And I'm getting near the end because I'm trying to learn the word quick. These are just isolated over the last, this is what we're planning to spend the local option sales tax on, either fully or partially funded. It is helping these projects along, and I believe that's that 88 miles we talked about. There they are. And then the next slide, I believe, is what we have used it for over the last 5 years. It's making, it continues to make an impact I'm very happy to say that this red blob, or these right here, are done. County Road 115, 10 years of planning, blood, sweat, and tears, getting that done. So we're very happy to report that that's completed. And that is my last slide, except for the next, well, go to the next one, the previous one. And this is just what is in your packet, or request for board action to approve the 2029 highway improvement plan and direct the county engineer to continue to proceed with planning, engineering activities required to deliver the projects identified in this document. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, Madam Chair, just a comment. You know, I remember back long before I sat up here, coming and speaking in front of that half-cent sales tax, speaking for it. What would this map look like if we hadn't done that?
Well,
We don't want to know.
A lot less colorful. And
Real colorful.
it is.
So, yeah.
It's been very impactful, and it continues to perform. I think the growth maybe is not there, but it's definitely sustaining. And it's going 9.5, getting close to $10 million. That's very impactful. That can allow the property tax levy to be lower and still deliver a record, amount of projects. Almost $90 million of construction. And so we feel that we're providing great value in leveraging those sources, delivering with our in-house staff.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Coyle?
Madam Chair, I would just kind of a little FYI. If you think about it, I believe our levy last year was 45 million. Debbie, am I correct on that, roughly?
Yes.
So that means that every 1% would be 450,000. And Tim, how much are we spending this year on roads? 8 million?
I'm not
9?
positive for this, the dollar amount this year. I don't have that in front of me right now, but it's a lot of paving.
Right.
Maybe 12
I
to
believe-
14
I
million
believe
dollars on
it's-
construction.
Yeah, even if it was, let's just say it was $10 million. If you think about it, every $450,000 would be 1% on the levy. Can you imagine if we tried to pay for that on people's property taxes? I mean, they literally would be taxed out of their home. If we tried to do the paving that we've been doing and the work that we've been doing. So I hate to say it again, I was the lone no vote on the sales tax, but I am not afraid to admit I was wrong on that. This has been a tremendous way to repair the roads in Crow Wing County without having to tax people on their property taxes that would literally put them out of their home if we tried to do it on the property taxes. So just to comment on that, I'm really proud of what we've gotten done. I know that I and all my constituents in southern Crow Wing County are very appreciative. There's some darn good roads, and there's going to be a lot of road work done down in southern Crow Wing County. So I'm really tickled about it. So thanks to you, Tim, and your very capable staff. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Can I have a motion to approve the 2025 through 2029 Highway Improvement Plan?
I'll make the motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke?
Aye.
Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
County Sheriff. Okay, County Attorney.
I do not have anything unless some questions have come up.
Anyone with questions? Thank you. Okay, County Administrator.
Madam Chair, I'd like to be the lone holdout, but the SMT did not meet yesterday. We have a meeting next week, so I have nothing to report unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you. Any additional business?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by
Madam
Commissioner
Chair?
Coring.
Oh,
Yes,
Madam Chair,
yes.
Madam Chair, before you continue, I got on mute and I couldn't find my button for a second, but I do have a couple things to bring up under additional business, if you don't mind.
not a problem.
Go ahead.
I'll withdraw my second, because a motion to adjourn is non-debatable, so
like
I'll
to-
withdraw my
I'll
second.
withdraw my motion.
There you go. Amen.
Do we have to do it? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Just real quick, just want to remind people that April 7th through the 11th is Severe Weather Week, and that we should all take time to prepare ourselves for any potential hazards that might come our way during that particular week or the coming, I guess what I would call the tornado storm season. The second thing is April is also Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's a time to recognize the importance of families and communities working together to strengthen families and prevent child abuse and neglect. So when we invest in those children, we're investing in our communities, which is helping us bring attention to all the different ways we can help children and families. My last thing is over in the Sheriff's Department, April 13th through the 19th is 911 dispatchers. Whole week in April is recognized as the Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So let's say thank you to all of those dedicated individuals at the Sheriff's Office for their continued service and commitment to our community. They are the first call for help, and dispatchers are the lifeline to keeping our community safe. They bring peace to chaos. Thank you for your compassion, knowledge, and patience. You bring 24 hours a day, each and every day. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay,
And I will second that motion.
we now have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, a second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.